Racial disparities take many forms in the United States. However, none are as well researched, well documented, and harder to deny than those that take place in our criminal justice system. Police shootings of unarmed black teens have taken up most of the public conscience surrounding this issue. However, while these tragic events may receive the most news coverage, they are far from the most widespread problems concerning minorities in our criminal justice system. Just how big are racial disparities in our justice system? How do they affect arrest rates, sentencing rates, and how can they affect people in their day-to-day lives after they've been convicted felons?
According to the Innocence Project in New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services statistics, 93% of all NYPD arrests of marijuana possession were people of color, despite them only making up around 55% of the New York population. According to data from the FBI, more than 25% of all drug arrests were of blacks, despite that being double the population of black people in the United States. In addition, FBI data found that rates of using and selling drugs do not differentiate significantly by race. In 2010, the ACLU found that blacks were almost 4 times more likely than whites to be arrested for marijuana offenses. Even if there is not purposeful discrimination by police officers, there's clearly a disparity between races and who is arrested for drug offenses.
Blacks having longer sentences for crime is something that is very common within the criminal justice system. For sentences from the time span of 1 to 25 months, whites have about 10% more of these length sentences than blacks, but when we begin to get into longer sentences, blacks lead whites in these type of sentences by about 5% every 25 months.
Even if people committed of these crimes are not sentenced to jail time, a criminal record can have drastic effects on a person's life. Almost all potential employers run a criminal background check on potential employees, and seeing a criminal as an applicant can have a big impact on if they decide to hire you. There are even disparities between races when it comes to having a criminal record. According to the Re-Entry and Employment Project, black people without a criminal record are 3% less likely to receive a callback from a potential employer than a white person with a criminal record. Having a criminal record can affect your education as well. Colleges can and will expel people with a criminal record, and if you are applying for college, they are less likely to accept your application. You can also lose your Second Amendment right to own a gun, which many Americans see as a basic freedom, and lose your voting privileges. Worst of all, housing loans can be much more difficult, especially if you are convicted of a drug or sex crime. As humans, we usually assume the worst when we see that someone is convicted of a crime. With job applications, there's only one box, yes or no, to say if you were convicted of a felony, without any room left to describe context of the situation. And without laws put in place to protect against people like this will all continue to occur. There are many more statistics that show disparity here, like non-whites making up 55% of the total U.S. prison population, and prisoners being 4 times more likely to contract an STD. But this is all still an ongoing American story. There are small steps being taken in the right direction and reasons to have some hope. The federal prison population has declined over the past 10 years, and Obama granted clemency to the most prisoners since Truman. There are even smaller initiatives, like Ban the Box, which seeks to remove the box asking people if they are a felon on job applications. This has been adopted by 19 states and DC so far. However, there is still a lot of work to be done. Racial disparities in our justice system will sadly most likely exist for some time to come. We can only hope that the future generations continue to work on solving it.